All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. I'm gonna start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha Chorash. A double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do teach and rule well, according to the scriptures, man, which is the foundation through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, of our ministry, you know. But double honors to them. Shalom to the hopeful elect members out there who only salvation will be granted in these latter times, to escape the danger and the said perils that the Lord said would happen to Babylon the Great and also across the four corners of the world. But shalom unto you all, you know, that's fighting, to make your call and election sure. But anyways, I had a quick one I wanted to go into because if you've been watching, you're tapped in tune with what's going on in the world. You've realized that Kanye West, he's decided to make his public apology. His apology that went public, to a rabbi, based on his anti-Semitic speech. You know, we so as the scriptures talk about, we're not ignorant to Satan's devices. Amen. The Lord has put us on such a level of spiritual discernment that we understand, man. A lot of these individuals, they're just controlled opposition. You got fucking Byron, you know, from the Fresh and Fit podcast. He was once upon a time a red pillar where he would just, hop on topics about male and women problems. But now he's the biggest small hater around. The same with what's shorty name, Candace Owens. What's the young kid? We're fucking Captain Tazariak. From the ISUPK under the under the great General Commander Yahana. You know, I forget that kid's name though. Damn. I think it's Tyvin or something like that. But he's a young kid. I think he's just turned 18. He's a small head as well. But now, uh, his new thing is, yeah, I'm not one of them anymore. I'm against him. So he talks shit about him. He'll have small hats on his show talking shit to him. He had one podcast where Captain Tazariak of the ISUPK, he was on there. You know, going back and forth. Hey, look, and this is another thing. A lot of these Israelites that are out here too, they're also controlled opposition. You know, they might think they're doing it, and some dudes might think they're doing it in sincerity and it's harmless. But hey, I believe a lot of them understand what they're doing. But that's what the as the scriptures talk about, how the love of money is the root of evil. Hey, us here at GMS Great Millstone, starting off with Apostle Tahar, a Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ramlab, you know, Apostle Rakah, you know, uh, 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 and then the elders, bishops, you know, and then the elders, and then like-minded men on down. And you can't sway us with money, man. You know, as the Apostle Paul spoke about, he knew how to be a bound and how to be a base. We cool when we got a little bit extra, but we also cool when we got to struggle a little bit. That's a part of the walk that we're a part of, and as the scriptures talk about, uh, uh, how the Lord will return to his place till he acknowledges our offenses, and we're supposed to acknowledge our offenses, us, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, wherever you may be scattered. This is the time where you acknowledge your offenses towards our power, because the Lord made a covenant with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which came with stipulations of if we didn't keep those, certain punishments would happen. So this lower condition that we're in right now is a product of our disobedience. So we're supposed to look on that and be like, yo, man, hey, shit, I went off against the Lord. I got to make right. Even if it means I got to sit my ass down for a little bit and not be on top. Not be pretty much the pretty much, just being humble. Taking a low. you know not fighting for riches, not fighting for positions of power, and that's an issue with you Israelites, especially in this Kanye West situation. A Floyd Mayweather, he just had his speech where he's like, yeah, I'll be the voice for y'all. When nobody else will speak for you, I'll speak for you. And why is that? Because they get these fucking endorsements, they get these deals, you know they get those gifts, as the scriptures talk about, which destroys the heart. Kanye West was once he was once a part of the 12 tribes of Judah, which I'm making fun. But now what? He's going down and he's pretty much kissing these niggas asses. you know speaking, I never heard Kanye speak like that in the longest time, the way I'm not gonna play it, because they, how how they like to get down. You know, these niggas are sensitive. They hate when the truth comes out. You know, they'll get to crying and shit. Taking down your videos because they own everything. But hey, that's a part of his portion as of right now. He's meant to be set up to be the deceiver. He's meant to set up to be that dude, or when somebody says something about the truth of the matter, and his wrongdoings, he gets to crying. And the scriptures tell us about that, Though he sought carefully with tears, Esau Edom, war was in his heart, you know? So they do all this bullshit, but hey, the Lord uh, showed us, if you're spiritually discerned, the attributes of this dude and what to watch out for. So we know you're Esau Edom. We know your time is short. We know there's gonna be, just as in the time of Yahushua with the scribes and Pharisees, individuals that got a position of power within your system, and because the truth is coming out, they don't want to pretty much lose their position of power. Those Israelites, so therefore they're willing to give up the ones who are telling the truth, you know, and it's cool, the same thing was with the apostles of old, because of the message that they had. Nigga women, because of the message that they had, you know it was pretty much demonized to the point where they were imprisoned, to the point where majority of them were put to death, you know so those who have come into this walk and have decided to take on the path and the testimony of Yahushua, you would have to consider that, hey, look, just as the prophets of old, we're going to catch that same demonization. We're going to go through the same hell that Yahushua went through. But that's why he said, hey, before they hated you, they've hated me. It's all a part of, you know, entering into that new kingdom, that the scriptures talk about how it is for few, how this world be for many, but the kingdom to come is for few. But anyways, I'm not even gonna go into this article. It was just a talking point centered around the basis of, you can't as the scriptures talk about. I got pulled up the second in 1 Corinthians 10 and where is it? Yeah, 20. Pretty much 20 and 21. Now, when you go into 1 Corinthians 10, it pretty much is going into, the topic that Apostle Tahar, his pit bulls over there at the Genesis, they pretty much calling Paul taught that you can pretty much, he taught idolatry, you know. But what was going on here during the time of Corinth, of the letter that he was writing to Corinth, there was a lot of idol worship that was going on there. So therefore, there would be a lot of meats that would be sacrificed in those temples, and then certain people would go in there and eat those meats, or those same meats will be sold in the marketplace, you know. So therefore, it was food offered up to idols, you know. But what Apostle Paul was saying was like, man, you can't destroy yourself, because all this food's defiled. The scriptures told us that we would eat our bread defiled amongst the Gentiles. Now, defilement, it goes into a number of things, they put unlawful shit within our food, but it's also defiled because it's offered up to different idols. Even today, most the vast majority of the food that we get is from is what you would call the Bible Belt. The Midwest. Where these farmers hang. But most of these farmers, who do they worship? They worship Jesus. You know. So when you think they pray over their crops, or they pray over the, for a good, year in crops, or they pray over their cattle, or whatever they have that they sell, who do you think they're praying to? They're not praying to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, you know? And that's the issue with a lot of these Israelites, you know? You want to fight the technicalities of the law, but we won't be saved by the law. It's the grace that comes from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, you know? That's ultimately granted to the elect, you know? So when you read here in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, where it goes into pretty much these sacrifices of the Gentiles, and eating of the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils, is going into that, but it's a twofold as well. You can't make covenants, money covenants with these Gentiles, a pretty much to worship idolatry, things like money. And that's what Kanye West is doing. He once upon a time said he was for the Lord. He was of the 12 tribes of Judah. You know, I believe Floyd Mayweather as well, and a lot of other celebrities. That have once upon a time said, "Oh, I know I'm an Israelite." Hey, but years go down. And the Israelite stuff's out the door, and they back to eating with Esau Edom again, eating off of his table. You know. So what? And that's why the scriptures tell us, man, hardly, pretty much roughly paraphrasing, I'm probably going to get it, how it's harder for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Why is that? Because the status that comes along with that, the comfortability that comes along with eating freely, drinking freely, living freely, being able to buy the next best thing, it can distort your mind from what's important, But anyways, let's read this. That's 1 Corinthians 10 and 20. It says, "But I say that the things that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils." Yeah, and that's the same thing with this this system that Esau Edom has set up right now. That's a part of the three unclean spirits that comes out of the beast, which is his monetary system, his religion, and his military might. All of these things are sacrificed up pretty much to Satan, because what? As the scriptures tell us, his coming is after the workings of Satan, you know? So all of these things that they do, a Satan's seat is right there, which is all through the spirit. The Lord set up Satan, to pretty much be the forefront of Esau Edom's power, But little does majority of the world know that Satan works for the Most High. That's the balance of the Heavenly Father. It's his way of showing forth a righteousness and wickedness. It says they sacrifice to devils and not to the Most High. It said, "I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils." Yep, and that's what a lot of these dudes do. You got Alazar. Every time you turn around now, and he's most of his content, that he puts out is centered around gang banging, buddying up with Adam 22, and they buddies now, man. And look, I was watching another little interview that he did with Adam 22. I didn't watch the whole thing because shit like that don't it. I'll tap in just real quick just to hear what's being talked about. Fast forward a couple minutes, hit the speed up a little bit just to tap in. But when Adam 22 gets to talking, this nigga gets to shutting up. But hey, when he went and talked to our elders and apostles, man, who taught him the truth, you know, and he over talking them, calling them niggas, all sorts of things. So hey, look, his sacrifice is more or less to these dudes now. He's offering up his body to to his pride, you know, his will, things that he wants to accomplish, you know, instead of accomplishing the Lord's will, you know, and it's gonna get him and a lot of dudes that still follow him fucked up because they uh as the scriptures talk about, man, you can't have one foot in the truth and one foot in the world, you know. You have to be either hot or cold for the Lord, you know what I mean? And if you're cold, he'll spew you out of his mouth. But that's the reason why you see his content is no longer centered around the scriptures. That's not no longer his foundation anymore, you know. But anyways, it says, and I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. Yeah, and that nigga fellowships with devils. Kanye fellowships with devils. All these celebrities fellowship with devils. IUIC fellowships with devils. They got a 501c3 charter that comes with stipulation of serving the community, you know, tax exempts, things of that nature. You know, we don't do that over here. You know, and we make our daily bread, and we go to hell back home. You know, and we do the work of the Lord. Anything other than that is what Apostle Paul spoke about as superfluous. You know, unnecessary. You know, you're doing it. You're doing it with the without sincere intents. You know, it says you cannot drink of the cup of the Lord and of the cup of devils. It says ye shall be partaker of the ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and with the table of devils. And that's right, you know. And you got to pick a side, bro. You know, because there's a lot of different ways that can deter you from doing what's right and the truth. So you really just have to sit at the Lord's table, because when you sit at the devil's table, man, you know, there's all kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, temptations, you know, entrapments that comes along with that, you know. So you got to pick and choose, you know. Let's get this real quick. We're gonna end it. I didn't intend to make it long, you know. The spirit was just on me because I ran into this video. Well, I ran into the Kanye situation and Kanye situation a couple days back, you know, and I wanted to touch on it, you know, but the spirit just tugged on me to do it just now, you know. But where was I going? There, yeah. How do you spell that? Yeah, here we go. This is Matthew. I'll get straight to the point. This is Matthew 19:23. It says, then said Yahushua unto his disciples, verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And the closer and closer we get until Yahushua's return, the more we get understanding of what the Lord's will is. We understand why that's so hard, you know, because you have to because you'll go to the Christian church and they'll teach you that prosperity is okay. But what does the scriptures tell us? You know, hey, this is not our rest. This is where we're not meant to prosper. You know, that's just one of those feel good doctrines where they received another spirit, not the spirit of Yahushua, but they teach it, you know, in order to keep you around, keep paying them tithes, you know, and keep the church open so they can continue to get them tax exempts, so they can continue to lie to you blatantly to your face. You don't think these pastors, when they get that exempt and it tells you, oh, you can't teach certain things, that they don't question why I can't teach that? You know, you don't think they lose sleep at night? Hey, look, I know a lot of pastors, and I didn't know why until I got some wisdom about me through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah. A lot of these pastors, they become sickly you know, they start to have mental diseases, strokes, you know, a high blood pressure, and that's a part of their diet, but it's also a part of they understand what they're doing, especially these pastors who go and really sit down and read the scriptures, you know. But anyways, it says, and again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Oh, I put one D instead of two E's. I said in 24 again in Matthew 19. It says, and I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of the Most High. Yep. So, hey, look, the best thing you can do right now is just find a balance within the Lord, and that balance that you find within the Lord is the reason why we're going through all these things that we're going through, and what the outcome is, and from there, you can find a stride of, a making sure you're serving the Lord, doing what you got to do to prepare, take care of your household, making sure uh, 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 you're properly using your defense, which is money, to help you through this situation, you know. But other than that, if you striving for riches, you know, it'll ultimately destroy you, So with that, hey, I'm gonna end off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do teach and rule well. Shalom.